I didn't want to get into that fast. I already know. I'm making $15.
You order the pizza? Hungry. That's all it takes, baby. You were not last minute. Yeah, Danny's last minute. I'll start driving and then take you back after. My name is Michael. I'm an addict. This is Voices of Addiction. And we started doing this a while back, and just recently, last month, started doing it again. Some of you have been to a few of them. Try and get some stories out about recovery, about staying in recovery, about changing our lives for the better. When I first started coming here, it helped change my life again. I was clean at the time. It's been a blessing to be able to come here and have a meeting here and do this here and be with all you guys here. It's something I love to do. So before we get some speakers up here, I'm going to have Bob come up and talk about Sparks and let you know what they do here.
Thank you.
My name is Bob. I'm a volunteer here. Since we have, I do have to tell a little story about our first day here at Sparks. What was it, about 4 years ago? Jonathan Sense and I were sitting here, and well, actually, just prior to that, I heard about Sparks, and my minister called, said, hey, I heard this lady talk, and I wanted to, I think there's a program out in Hamburg that you might be interested in. So he gave me the information. I contacted Linda, and she was working, so I met her husband, and I met him over here one day, and we just started talking and what their plans were about starting Sparks, and it sounded exciting. I've been working in the field for about 23 years in the recovery field, and I had retired in 2014, and I didn't want to just end there. I wanted to continue on doing something. So Jonathan and I are talking, and he had said that he was telling me about Sparks and what they were planning, and he wanted to run that. They wanted to run this with all volunteers, and I thought that was a great idea. And I asked him how many volunteers they had working here, and he goes, "Well, 2, you and I." So that's kind of how we started here. So the first day we were here, we're sitting here and we're like, where is everybody? Nobody's around. Don't they know that we're here to help people? And 2 people walked in the door. Michael and Lexi. Lexi, raise your hand. And that's actually when Spark started, when these 2 people walked in. They were excited. They had ideas. I think the first day you were here, you said, hey, this is a great place to have a meeting. Can we start a meeting here? They got their telephones out, and they were calling people, and the first NA meeting was held here probably 2 weeks after that. At that time, we only had an AA meeting on a Friday evening. Since that, well, most of you probably know that there's an NA meeting here on Mondays. They have NA meetings over at is it AA or NA over here? NA over at the church, because it's a larger meeting. There's more AA meetings. We have ACOA meetings here, family support meetings here. We're going to hear one person that's going to be speaking tonight talk about that a little bit. She runs a family support here, and we could just stop right there, and I would have been happy. I'm looking out here. This is the reason why we do this, for all the people that are sitting in this room here. But every time I turn around, Michael will say, hey, we gotta do this, or somebody else says, hey, we're gonna do this. We do have some plans. We're looking at getting back to, after this pandemic, or before this pandemic, it seemed like things were a lot more active, a lot more involved. Then we had to close down for a year. And that really was, it was a hard decision to do that, but, and we were just talking about that. Michael said that he had a couple secret meetings over here for MA, so, which I was happy about hearing. But it's getting back to where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be with getting the information out there about this addiction, about this pandemic. That we talk about COVID pandemic, we're not talking about the pandemic of addiction, which is a lot of people are affected by that. So we are back to doing that. We're looking in the future where, football season's coming along. We're looking at, we ought to open this place up on Sundays, have football games. We just need a little bit bigger TV, which is in the works at the moment. But we want this to be a place where people could just come and meet with your sponsors, or just get away, just sit around, talk. We have volunteers that are here at different times during the week, and just, it needs to be, people like you have to be here to help people that are walking in the door that need help. I can't bring recovery people in here, but you guys can. Michael can, Lexi can. The people that are frontline workers, so to speak, you're the ones that are bringing people in here. This is what we envision this to be, and because of you, it's developed. You're gonna hear some, and I see some familiar faces from the last month there, but we're gonna have some speakers that they're gonna tell their stories about what life was about before their recovery, and then they're gonna talk about the hope that they have today because of the recovery. I give them, they're the heroes as far as I'm concerned. They are the ones that this is what it's all about. So I'm not going to go into any more detail at this point. I'm going to just turn this over to Michael. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can't turn it over. Thank you.
All right, our first speaker. When we first started Voices, I got to hear her speak, and she blows me away every single time. So we have Becky from Colton's Journey.
Good afternoon. My name is Becky Barnell. My son Colton Lasker died on his 23rd birthday after a 10-year struggle with addiction. Colton wasn't one of the ones that overdosed. He died right after complications to his use. So he had been in recovery. He had another relapse, as we all know how that works. You're sober one minute and you're not the next. The last time he relapsed was a week before his 23rd birthday. He had just come back from Florida several months before then, spending almost a year away from me, so we could try and get him the help that he needed. One of the many times that he was in rehab and through the process. We couldn't get the help we needed up here because we kept being turned away. There were no beds. Nobody could help me. Nobody knew who to call. We would go to rehabs. They'd say, sorry, stand in line tomorrow. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll have a bed. We would go to ECMC. They would say, sit down and wait. He would wait for 10 or 12 hours, and then at the end of the day, they'd say, sorry, we can't help you, and he would leave. I couldn't figure out how come his life was worthless to everybody, but not me. He worked with me right before he died. I work at Buffalo Stampede Plant. He was one of the part-timers that had just gone full-time. The year before he went to Florida, he got the job. It lasted about 4 or 5 weeks. As soon as he had that money in his pocket, it was an issue. So that's when the emergency happened again, and that's when he went to Florida because we couldn't get the help. I missed a lot of work being with my babe. I have 2 daughters, 2 beautiful daughters that were younger than him, and I had to make a lot of choices. They were hard choices. I don't believe necessarily in tough love. I think there's a lot of decisions you have to make, and everybody has to do it their own way. My way was to walk a fine line. The question I would ask myself is, what is the decision I'm going to make today going to help him, or is it going to help him die? So, and I used to have that conversation with Colton. If I had to make a decision that was really uncomfortable for me, I had to really face the fact that the decision I made meant that he might die, or I would be either helping him live or helping him die. He's fine. So every decision I made for a very long time, the weight of his life wasn't just mine and it wasn't just his, but it weighed on both of us all the time. When he relapsed the last time, he had called me over to the job that he was on, and I knew he had been relapsing because the symptoms are the same. And it's no, I'm not, everything's good. And then, I haven't talked about this in a year and a half, so I guess you're getting the waterworks today. He called me over to the line he was working on, and what he said to me, I don't know if anybody else in the room has been through this, but when they tell you shocking things, you can't be shocked. So his statement to me while he looked me in the face is that he had planned his suicide for that day. And he didn't want to do that to myself and his sisters, so he came to work to see me instead and asked for help again. Because he just didn't know what to do, and he was tired. He was so tired. He was tired of relapsing constantly and getting better and relapsing again and feeling out of control, and when he was in control, he was still out of control. And it was scary, always so scary every time the phone rang. And every time I saw him, every time you look at him, you're looking for the signs, or you're looking, and he looked so healthy for that last little while before he died. He had put on like 45, 50 pounds because he was what your typical user would be, which was, 5'9" and 120, 125 pounds before he left for Florida. So we left that day and went to ECMC. And before then, when they wouldn't keep Colton, he didn't know why. This time he knew what he had to have in his system for them to not let him go. So he had the trilogy there. I won't even get into that. The people that are here that aren't part of this system understand that. They couldn't let him go because they would be liable, so they kept him. 7 days later, he got out of the hospital, and we were going to take him down to North Carolina to see his grandparents. Because we knew that we couldn't get him in any place up here. We had already made a bunch of phone calls, and there was no place to go. So his grandparents, when he was with them, he actually would do pretty good and gave him a chance. So that was on the 22nd actually, and then the day before his birthday, he got out of there. On the 23rd, I was supposed to pick him up, and we were going to go to North Carolina. I talked to him on the 22nd at around 9:30 at night. Not that one. I talked to him around 9:30 at night, and he was just as jovial as you could imagine, like super happy, like that euphoria they get, or you get, whichever one of you I'm talking to, when you use, or right as you're getting to it, or right after you've done it. And I was scared to death, and he was at his dad's house in Buffalo, and we had this amazing conversation. He talked about all the people he loved, and he talked about God, and he talked about so many opportunities that were, hope. He talked about hope, and it scared me because of the way he was talking. I didn't know what that meant because I wanted that to be the truth, but it always meant something else. So I called his dad, and I'm like, is he all right? Did something happen? He goes, no, I've been with him all day. He's fine. That was the last time I talked to my son. He died that evening. I got a call at 11:30. He was being taken to ECMC, and they got him. He had an arrhythmia that night. I think God took him out fair and square is what I think. Colton was begging for his life to be better, and he wasn't doing it. It wasn't working. And no matter what he did, and as anyone knows, all of our personalities are so different. We all have different things about us that make us unique, but we are all human, and therefore we have a condition that we can't escape. Colton was a tender-hearted young man who was a writer, loved his music, loved his family, loved to love. So for me to watch him be broken all the time, and for him to be so tender with me and show me that part of him all the time, and then see him using and see him going down the other road, it was heartbreaking to watch him break his own heart all the time and not feel like he had control of it. So when we went to the hospital and they had got his heart started, and then the next morning he was declared gone, dead. We were able to give his organs, enough of his organs to save 4 different lives with 5 of his organs. I had a blessing in that moment, and I hope, here's what I'm going to tell you that you're not going to like. If you're someone who is in the situation Colton was in, or you have a family member that is, the life insurance I took out on him because he was a user came into play because I wanted to be able to, if anything ever happened to him, take care of him at the end of his life afterwards, the way that I felt he deserved it and the way that I would know I needed to miss work to do it. So his life insurance saved me by giving me the ability to mourn him or be with my daughters so that I could go through the process. I don't recommend people avoid the process. I think that you have to enjoy the process, and by that, be sad, and then be so happy, and you'll wake up morbidly sad, and then you'll remember all the amazing moments and the struggle, and then you could ask yourself, but why him? I don't ask those questions. I have a faith that's beyond faith. For the God of my understanding is different than everybody's. We all do that differently. We all share in that differently. But my faith has been what my steadfast moments have been. And when my faith didn't work, I had to remember that every moment and every thought I have goes out into the universe and comes back. And I can choose to be part of the great part of this, or allow myself to be drugged down to the bottom of it. And for myself, I'm fortunate to have 2 other children. Other people are not always that fortunate. And I was able to live with them, for them, and for Colton with them, if that makes sense. In the end, as I went through the first 6 months of his death, I was so upset because I didn't understand why when you're someone who's in trouble and mentally you're not making it, it doesn't really matter what the reason is. You're discarded like there's something wrong with you, and then everyone treats you like there is something wrong with you or your family because there's something wrong. And in other countries, it's not like that. I don't know if everybody realizes that. It is not like this in other countries. Other countries, psychology is embraced. And the people who are ill and the people that are not ill all go to counselors, and they all understand life is not just, hey, I got this all the time. We don't have to got this all the time. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? Something ain't right, and I'm not afraid to talk to you about it. My son hated the fact that I wasn't afraid to talk about it. And I wasn't afraid because there's a couple things some of us learned growing up, and some of us don't have the good fortune to learn. And I say good fortune, sometimes our bad crap that happens to us is the best thing that could happen to us. I had an incredibly challenging childhood, but what I learned from my childhood is that secrets will kill you or they will hurt the people you love. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Abused moms and dads, molestation of children, all the above. It's all dangerous. When we don't ask the people that are hurting what's wrong, they're afraid to tell you, you're afraid to ask, the pain goes on. The challenges that they face don't get better because they don't know how to ask, and we're afraid to ask, and they're afraid to get help, and it's like this horrible cycle. So Colton hated the fact that I was so open. He would always say, Mom, don't tell anybody. I'm sorry, I absolutely am telling people. Your secret will kill you, but it isn't going to take me with you. Your secret will kill somebody else if they don't understand it. And not talking about it isn't going to get us what we need. 6 months after Colton died, 7 months after Colton died, we knew the day that he died that we would have a benefit to try and show people ways to, my mission from my son was to show other people how not to have to suffer for so long, or at least have an answer for where to go. Where Naomi works at Addict to Addict and Evergreen, I found out about by accident after Colton died. Had I known about them prior to his death, the year before when he had to be gone away from us for a year to get help, we could have had the help right here within 24 hours. All the things we needed were right here, and I didn't know it because nobody at ECMC was telling me. Nobody at the rehabs was saying, hey, we can't help you, but please go here. How is that possible? They know these things are out there. They know the systems that are there. I didn't know about Horizons Health, and when you Google stuff, every time I Google something, I don't find what I'm looking for. I don't know how people do it. It blows me away. I have to tell my boyfriend all the time, you needed to look it up because you know what's going to happen when I do it. It happens all the time. Colton's benefit on his birthday, for his 24th birthday, which was the first annual day of his death, we had it across the street. And before we had it across the street, we had a big barbecue to raise money. And Linda smelt the chicken from the church over here that day, and they waited and they came and got chicken. And in those chickens, I had letters. And on those letters, it talked about this, and it talked about that there's places that people need to know about and our communities need to share because it takes a village to do this. It isn't a one-man job. It's not just a person. It isn't just a doctor. We as a community, no matter what community we are, can't do this by ourselves, and we need to help each other and try and understand each other. So she sat with me about a month later, she sat with me after we had the benefit, and she talked to me about starting Sparks of Hope and what they wanted to do here, which was exactly what we had set out to do. We started Colton's Journey to Liberation before the benefit ever happened. We had it off the ground. We are a 501c3, and we are here to be the voice for everybody that needs a place to go. We keep a resource page. We go online. A lady named Jill, that is a 35-year nurse, runs that for me while I go to work every day. Our goal isn't to be an Addict to Addict or an Evergreen. Our goal is to make sure other people don't have to wait until their child or their husband, son, daughter, mother die to find out where they can get the help that they need. Just rehab may be enough for some people. It may not be, but do you know that there's a million different ways to get help and a million different things you can do? And you don't know what's going to work for you because the same thing doesn't work for everybody. So we go out to share information about lots and lots of different organizations, devices, groups of people, natural healing. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is as long as people find out about it. It isn't my job to pick and choose what works. I don't know what works. What we did didn't work. What we were doing was the things that everybody told us we're supposed to be doing. And it works for some people. Some people get lucky. They live through it until they figure it out. Some people suffer their whole lives. Or some people like Colton die in the process. And then you have someone like me. I have this amazing kid. And now there's a beautiful little Colton back there. Because Lexi loved us enough and what we're doing enough. She named her son after my son in tribute to what we are doing all around here. I've actually accomplished everything I set out to accomplish, but I haven't done what I want to do. My goal was to do what this place is doing and what we do online, and to affect somebody to the point that they're willing to name their child after your son. Can't tell you what that means. And I've been fortunate that a couple people have actually done that. There's 2 people that have named their children after mine. And they're both people that are in recovery one of them loved the name, and she loves what we do and how we do it and why we do it, and she suffered. And Lexi is a tribute to everything we stand for. So Colton's Journey is there for everybody. We have a webpage that we run. We usually run events, but obviously with COVID we haven't. What you're gonna hear from Naomi, the minute we wanted to do what we started doing before I ever had the benefit last year, Kids Escaping Drugs, Kids Escaping Drugs was a big part of our life, but I won't even get into that right now. Addict to Addict and Evergreen came and supported us. We had myself, because peer groups matter and everybody needs them for every different thing out there on the earth. I wish that we could find out whether you have OCD and everything in between to now, to here. ADD should have groups, abuse, all kinds of different abuses. Peers make a difference to each other because you can truly understand and feel the effects of what happens to the other people. And not everybody understands, and a lot of people won't talk in front of other people unless it's somebody that's been through the same thing they've been through. And how the heck are they gonna get help if they won't open up and just be not afraid to ask? But if they don't know there's meetings and they don't know there's a place to go, how are they gonna ask? Who are they gonna ask? So we're there to show them there's a place to go, people to talk to, groups to go to, places like this that are just phenomenal. What Sparks has done is a gift to all of us, and it's amazing. And I'm grateful to be a part of it. I love that they always invite me to the things that they do. It makes my heart happy. And that's pretty much our story. So cjtol.com is where you would go to look. We keep a resource page that Jill is updating as often as she can. On our Facebook page, you'll see all kinds of videos being done, interviews of people that are have recovered, companies that are doing what Addict to Addict does, and everything in between, holistic help, all of it. There's all kinds of stories out there, and people find a different way. We all do different things and find a different answer in our own way, but not being being afraid to ask is the first step to not getting to change. And that goes for the parents and the loved ones as much as it does for the people that are going through the process. So I'm really grateful that all of you are here. It's amazing to see so many wonderful faces, and I hope you're all getting what you're looking for wherever you're going these days. And we're here to help, so don't be afraid to reach out. Thank you.
I told you. That was me away. Afterward, you can ask questions to everybody, and then we'll hang out. And Bob was baking all week, so he made cookies and cake, and Diana and Melanie made jail coffee, so we got some stuff. It's good coffee. Our next speaker, I had her speak last month, and she's amazing. And I want her to talk about what she does too, and her story. So I had to bring her back because we need women in this program, as many as possible, to help the women that are struggling, because they struggle and don't have many. So that brings up Naomi.
Hey everybody, my name's Naomi. I am an alcoholic and a grateful member of Al-Anon. I do a lot of speeches and I'm really nervous tonight, so just bear with me. So I'm going to start a little bit with my family, because that's where my story started, molded who I am today. My father, he had extreme mental health and substance use problems. He would leave for days at a time, and nobody knew where he was. Nobody knew what he was doing. I would sit there and wonder where he was, and nobody would say anything. We'd all carry on like everything was normal. He'd come home, and nobody would say anything. It was fine. Nothing to see here, right? And I was so confused. And everybody else was fine, then it must be my fault. Like, my dad was the way that he was because I was a bad kid, and that's why he would leave. So at a really young age, I learned, according to me and my thinking as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, that most logical reason was if I were perfect, then my dad would be fine. Nothing would be wrong. So I made it my life's mission to make people happy. Turns out I can't do that. And as I started to get older, the pressure that I put on myself and the dysfunction in the family was so great that I went to food as a comfort. And I ended up developing extreme bulimia and anorexia in high school. I was put into institutions to try to fix me. They'd lock me up. Nobody would say anything, nobody would come visit, and I'd go home and everything was fine. Let's ignore the problem here. Naomi's messed up, but everyone else is fine. So that was my family. And
Can I ask you one question?
sure,
How many kids in your family?
there were 4.
Were you in the middle?
I was in the middle. Yeah. Why does everybody ask that? Yes, I'm number 3. So, you know, the lost child, the forgotten child, the scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
It was my fault. And my family told me that to my face. It was my fault. So in my family, there's active substance use, extreme mental illness. I have an aunt and a couple of cousins who committed suicide, all of which we don't talk about, never happened, nothing to see here. I sobbed at my aunt's funeral after she killed herself and asked my family, why didn't you do anything? Everybody walked away. So that was my baseline. That's what I started with, that's what I grew up with, and that's the only thing that I knew. I ended up going to alcohol when I hit extreme postpartum after my second child, my daughter, was born. I didn't know how to cope. I had no coping skills at all. My family was non-existent to help me. My mother-in-law tried the best she could. She now called herself overbearing and controlling, and I said, thanks for being there. Nobody else was. I love you. But with that, there was, I ruined everything in my life in a 6-month window because I went face first into methamphetamine and extreme addiction of alcohol. And in 6 months, everything that was built, I was married, I had 2 kids, we had a car, 2.5, or a house, 2.5 cars. The dog was insane, but we had a dog. And it was all gone. I lost full custody of my kids. I couldn't even see them. I had no legal rights. I lost everything in the house. And my husband said, I never want to see you again. From there, that was my bottom. I had a couple of friends that I knew that were in recovery, and they said, why don't you come with us? And they babysat me for 9 months. I wasn't alone. I couldn't be alone. There was so much grief. I didn't know how to live life. You know, the only thing I knew was what my parents taught me, and that was a codependency, pretending like nothing was wrong. You know, Becky talked about the secrets, and we didn't have any truth in my family. It was all secrets. And everything was my fault. Like you said, scapegoat. So from there, I went to AA, started to recover. I went through extreme DTs, withdrawal. I was hallucinating. I couldn't be anywhere by myself or do anything. I was unemployable. Started to work the process of the 12 steps with a sponsor. I started to get friends in AA. I got a job, ended up getting an apartment above my job at a little diner, and I was able to see my kids 1 weekend a month, supervised. I was still out of my mind. I had no emotional stability at all. I was still really heavy into my eating disorder. Bulimia and anorexia started to take over again, even in recovery from alcoholism. So it was really tough for me for a very long time in recovery. I didn't know about other support groups that would help me with food, with emotional difficulties, with codependency, because if I wasn't around somebody at all times, I didn't know what to do. I was so depressed. I ended up getting into relationships where I wanted to fix them, you know, because I tried so hard to fix the men in my life because that was my job, right? That's what I was taught. So I ended up getting in relationships that weren't healthy. And I was totally dependent on them being happy in order for me to find any sense of who I was. And this is sober. And this is, I want to say sober, because we use that term because we're not using substances, but what does that actually look like to be sober? Sane of mind? Absolutely no. Not any clue as to how to continue to live. So there was a few people in my life that I tried to fix, and the last person that I decided that I was going to fix turned out really poorly. I left my job, I dropped out of school, and I found myself in a situation where I had nothing. I had no money, I didn't have a job. I, again, was to the place, an emotional place where I was unemployable, and I had to take my kids to a food bank for dinner because I literally had zero money. And I'm sitting there going, I am, how many years? I am 6 years sober at this point. How is this happening again? What is going on? And somebody took my hand. She goes, honey, you need Al-Anon. I'm like, no, I don't. They're all crazy. I'm good. Fine. No, I definitely needed to learn how to figure out who I am and the support that I needed in order to be okay with myself, because I just wasn't. I was still running those same patterns that I learned growing up. And through family recovery, it started with Al-Anon, and it has since gone to adult children of alcoholics, has gone to friends and family of Smart Recovery, which I absolutely love. And I have gotten a job, it just kind of happened, where I'm a peer support specialist for families who are experiencing substance use in their homes. When I was in that situation, I was so terrified that I didn't know what to do. I couldn't breathe. I didn't eat, I didn't drink, I didn't sleep. I couldn't cope. So what I do every day is I help family members learn how to cope and thrive in their own environment with their loved one, helping their loved one work towards recovery in whatever way that looks like. You know, like Becky said, we have no clue what's gonna have something click for someone, right? Like something that clicks for me might not for somebody else. So I help people find all these different avenues of recovery, medication, 12-step groups, different groups like Smart Recovery and MAT Recovery, medication assisted treatment, also has support groups. So how can we work together? How can we break down those walls of secrecy and tell people, like, just because you're dependent on a substance doesn't mean that you're a piece of crap. And it doesn't mean that you have to kick your loved one out because they lapsed again. What can we do together to bring this back? And there's so many different agencies that provide help. Like, I just found out that the behavioral health team through the police department actually has an iPad where they can link somebody with treatment on the spot within 12 hours. Like, mind-blowing, right? How does everybody not know about that? Because the stigma behind addiction is so huge. Like, we all must be thieves, manipulators. That's what we do, right? But that's just a symptom of our disease. That's not who we are. And how can we move forward through that? How can we show our families that, yeah, it might be a lie, but at the same time, it's you that needs to make decisions based on your values rather than trying to figure out if they're lying or not, because it doesn't work. They don't know whether they're lying or not. I didn't know whether I was lying or not. I was clueless. So, some of what I do is I have a book club for family members, and it's called Beyond Addiction. And we learn how to set limits. We learn how to communicate using I statements. We learn how to take care of ourselves. We learn how to love life again and how to live and include our loved one in that. Like, how can we build on those values? How can we show our loved one that I love you unconditionally, whether you're picking up or not? Can't do it in my house. You're not gonna have keys to my car, but I love you. Let's go have lunch. So we can start to rebuild those relationships and talk about the really, really hard things. I've learned how to be uncomfortable and be okay with that. Like, I just spent 5 hours in the same room as my ex-husband together supporting my son who's going through an evaluation for a learning disability. 5 hours. He wouldn't even make eye contact with me 6 years ago. So how does that happen, and how can we do that together? And it's the same in our society, right? Because we don't want to look people who are suffering in the eye. It's really uncomfortable. Like, you know, like when you're driving somewhere and there's a homeless man standing there with a sign, like, how many people would make eye contact with him or her? Or have stuff like a baggie in the car and say, here's something for you. There's no money in it, but there's a granola bar, there's wet wipes, bottle of water. Let me know if I can help you out. So the agency that I work for, we have a team, and it's called Addict to Addict, Family to Family. And what we do is we work really, really hard to connect people with supports in whatever avenue that looks like. And we're here to say, like, if you pick back up again, it's okay. We're not gonna tell you that you're wrong. We're gonna say, let's try again. Let's try something different. Like, you're still breathing, there's hope. The only way that there's no hope is when there's no breath. So that's what we do to break down those walls and say, this is not the end all of be all. We can still find different ways to go in different directions. So if you guys need anything, there's a flyer on the door, and it has the hotline number on it. It's 24/7. So if anybody ever needs support, please call that number. They'll take a little bit of information and we'll call you back. Families too. So that's for families and people suffering from substance use. So don't be afraid to reach out. Thanks.
Training.
Oh, we're going to be doing a Narcan training here, and it will be August 25th. I keep forgetting. It's free, and I have Narcan and Sharps boxes in my car. So if anybody wants a Narcan box, if they're around people, I actually think everybody should have one at all times. But come and see me afterwards, because I do have some in the car. And if you would like to come for the training, it's on the 28th at 7 p.m. I'm sorry, the 25th at 7 p.m.
And there's gonna be a ton of resources here too, right?
No, it's a different day. And the event.
That
is
event,
on the
yeah.
18th.
Talk about that.
Okay, so we're on Sparks, Addict to Addict, and In His Name Outreach, and then there's one other non-for-profit. We're putting together an event on September 18th to celebrate all pathways to recovery, and we're gonna have a whole bunch of different agencies here to share about how they can help people in substance use and their families. And so like that stuff, like the police having those iPads, a lot of people are gonna be here sharing the different things that they can do. We're gonna have music, food, and we're gonna have people share their stories of hope, and we're gonna also celebrate a couple of people in the community that have really helped out over the pandemic.
So if you're not on Sparks of Hope Facebook, get there.
That's Ron. Awesome job, thank you. Our last speaker, I actually met him in AA, and I used to, when I first had to hear him, I'm like, who is this dude, man? Telling me I gotta do this, that. And I kept paying attention, and I've literally watched him help hundreds and hundreds of men in recovery. And he always shows up when you ask him. He's always around. He's always trying to pass this along. And he's got a lot of time in this and out of it. And he's just awesome. He's good for what we need to be doing. Gino.
I gotta get water quick.
Just give me a second here. How much time have I got, bro? Some of you guys know me. George, right? Remember what I said?
Yep.
Okay, so, my name's Gino. I am an alcoholic addict. I'm gonna talk about something, but first I gotta say what I gotta say, okay? Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to be here. It is. And it's just amazing what you're doing. It just is. And good stuff. And split crowd, I like that. It's been a while since I talked to a split crowd. So some of you guys know me, and some of you are gonna get to know me. You know, everybody familiar with Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm the boy who lived. As far as alcoholism and drug addiction goes, I never had a chance. I know some of you can identify with that because I know some of you. I'm the youngest of 8. I was born in South Buffalo, and at the age of 10 years old, I had my first drunk. It wasn't a big deal. It was my niece's christening party. If I asked my sister what day her baptism was, I'll tell you the exact day was my first drunk. And there was never booze around my house, and they had booze there, and I didn't do it alone. Me and Eddie, 2 doors down, had some, you know, styrofoam cups, snuck some drinks. I got drunk, I puked, I blacked out, and I passed out. Yeah! And I did that for about 12 more years. The consequences got greater. So there's my drunk story. No, but seriously. At 14 years old, I could drink a pint of vodka by myself. It was 54 cents, Kamchatka vodka. Ella Bird used to buy it for us at the corner. Drank the pint by myself. If you wanted the good stuff, Mr. Boston, that was 80 cents. I loved Wild Irish Rose. I loved Mad Dog 2020, Tango, Boone's Farm before it got fancy. I don't know, can you guys identify with any of this? Right? Weed. Let me tell you some things about drug addiction and alcoholism. If you could physically just beat alcoholism out of someone, I would not be talking to you tonight. It would have been beaten out of me by the time I was 16 years old. You cannot beat alcoholism out of someone. If sex could take away alcoholism, I would not be talking to you guys tonight. That doesn't work either. Try it. Damn it. All you newcomers, don't even try it. Don't work. But I do have a son as a result of a recovery relationship. Yay, cool. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Smoking weed cannot keep you from drinking. Doing cocaine makes you addicted. You know, most of my drug use as an alcoholic was for the obsession to control and enjoy my drinking. So I got into drugs early, and it's just part of, like, I didn't need anybody to teach me how to catch a buzz. I just didn't. You just know, right? So when I did LSD when I was 14 and 15 years old, it wasn't because I wanted to have some spiritual out-of-body experience, because someone, you know, before we were going to a concert said, bro, if we do this stuff, we could drink for like 8 hours, man, and like not throw up and not like black out. I'm like, I'm in. And then you find out, like, don't get alone on that stuff, right? Because if you're alone, then you start tweaking, right? So that was a hard lesson to learn, you know? And then you can't do that stuff all the time. It fries your brain out, right? So I was like 17, and somebody was like, well, dude, if you do, like, you snort this stuff, you won't black out, you know? And then you're like, well, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, yeah, here we go. Where'd it go? Where is it? Is it there? Is it there? Oh, where? You know, you got sanity checks all the time. And I don't care if you sit down, me, the Pope, get Gandhi, I don't know, pick any great spiritual person that you could possibly think of. If we do enough cocaine as I did, they're walking out an addict. Once you start putting that stuff in your system, you cannot be anything but an addict. It's just the way it is. It's biologically impossible. That's the sadness of it all. That's why we have an opium epidemic. That's the truth. So I really had no chance whatsoever. I didn't. And I tried every conceivable way to just catch a buzz. I don't know if you guys can identify that. Just wanted to catch a buzz, man. I didn't want to steal out of my mother's purse. I didn't want to be a disgrace to my family. I didn't want to break every single girl that I like's heart and be a jerk to her. I didn't want to steal things. That's not who I am as a person. But that's it. Yeah, I ain't gonna ask for a show of hands, but if you're an addict and an alcoholic here, do you do those things? Can you identify with them? Can you identify with not wanting to do those things? Really, like pass the lie detector test. Me and my boy Richie talk about this all the time. Like, I will never do it again. Put me on a lie detector test. He ain't lying. Sunday morning, he's done. I'm telling you, he's done. And Wednesday, I'm doing worse. And really mean it. Like, I don't want to be that person. That's a living hell. Those are the demons. And that's what we're up against. Who chooses that? I don't want to be around them if you're choosing that. And I'm serious. If that's who you're choosing to be, please stay away from me. But if you're like myself and you just want to be like just a regular guy, man, get a job, go on vacation, marry a pretty girl, marry some, whatever. Go to Disney World, take a vacation, right? Have a nice car. And you keep waking up in places and you're like, whoa, who are you? How did I get here? What's going on, right? Then we can hang. Because I did some awful things that I never wanted to do. I got a DWI before I got a driver's license, because that's cool. I was in a homeless shelter at 17. Rehab. My father died, I was 15 years old. There's a date on the calendar that says, when did this dude go beyond human aid? It was February 6, 1986, the day my father died. All the wheels fell off. Every single time I picked up alcohol as a blackout, unless I was doing drugs, which is great, right? Oh yeah, let's live that way. Absolutely no choice, completely out of control. No hope for me whatsoever, and I couldn't see it. In October of 1986, I went to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Joy, right? I was a sophomore in high school. Or maybe a junior, I don't know, was that junior year? And I'm at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And I was just too young, too smart, and too good looking to be an alcoholic. That's just the way it is. That was my mindset. And I continued I went to Camp Mike, which we affectionately call my older brother's house, lives out here in the village. And in between the summer of junior and senior year, to try to straighten me out, because my mom was out of control. And, I have adult, when I was born, my oldest sister was 18. So a lot of my life, I didn't have to figure out what I was doing. I knew that I was going to college. I knew that I was going to have some sort of career. Because I had 7 brothers and sisters that were like, ching, every 2 years, somebody's graduating and doing something. You know what I mean? So that regards, and that standard was there when I was born. So to not have that standard, it eats you up inside. I don't come from like the kind of family where it's like, yeah, dude, you got your first felony? Yeah, let's go get tattoos. That is not the people I come from. It's just not. Yeah, they drink, they do their thing, but you don't act like a psycho. So it was hard. It was hard living like I was living. And waking up every day and thinking it's okay. And not being able to stop. I don't know if you can identify with that, but that's the place I come from. And I was just really, really, really fully committed to just catching a buzz and not being a jerk. Fully committed. And I couldn't do it. I go out to Camp Mike. I can't. I hang out there. I get through summer school because I had to take a couple summers. I went to Hutch Tech downtown. I went to a really good high school. I was taking engineering in high school. I'm doing calculus. You cannot pass calculus without doing your homework, okay? I don't know. When you take calculus, you got to do your homework, right? And same thing with physics, And so I failed those classes, shocker, and I went to summer school, and I tried my best. My brother taught me his business, right? I get back there, I go back to school, and then I get the DWI, steal my sister's car. Not part of the plan. Couldn't help myself. Where does that wind me up? It winds me up in a homeless shelter. Because the family's like, we can't deal with it anymore. It was killing me. People like me usually don't make it. They just don't. So I fought it, and I fought it hard. And if you can identify with that, just trying to just catch a buzz and not destroy your life and the people around you, and hating yourself every single solitary day because you're failing miserably, then you can identify with where I'm coming from. And this isn't an issue of IQ. Not stupid. It's an insult to me, right? We talked about this before, bro. It is an insult to me to say, well, just knock it off. Don't do it. Think your way through it. You have some willpower. I'll tell you, that's an insult to me as a man, as a person. Like, am I stupid? Like, I didn't sit there and say, boy, I never want to do this again. Boy, I don't want to live this way. Like, I didn't have that thought. Like, I didn't have that determination in my soul to not be that way. What an insult. What, I got to get a little smarter? Read a book? No. This isn't something I can control. It's way beyond my personal control. It's outside the grasp. And I'm no dummy. I'm going to sit up here and like, I'm not dumb. I don't think anybody in this room is dumb. It's not about that. It's not about willpower. It's not about determination, it's about needing help, as you guys spoke about, and getting it, and making that personal commitment to recovery. Because it's jails, institutions, and death. And I didn't believe it. I just didn't. I thought I was some kind of like a mild case, whatever it was. I did not fully accept that I can't do it. So I'll ask you guys this. Just that little bit. Do I qualify? Am I an alcoholic, drug addict? You guys who are out there, do I? Okay, you guys tell me. Serious question. Serious question. You tell me what day of the week, what time of year is it going to be safe for me to ever drink again?
Never.
When will it ever be safe for me to do a bong hit? Tell me.
Never.
Maybe one line. Tell me, when?
Never.
Right? That's the little it's getting used to. They had to put me in a jail cell, homeless shelter, rehab. Be a disgrace to have my family tell me move to Cleveland, right, Danny? Nobody knows us there. That's how you want to live, that's who you want to be, go to Cleveland. That was March of 1993. I was 22 years old. Coming out of jail, not knowing what I'd done. That's for real. And I had to make a choice. What do I want to be? And I knew it. I could see it. I got this. And it's not, man, it ain't like, oh, let's have a parade. Yeah. No, I was devastated. And I needed help. So I started going back to meetings or the rooms or whatever you want to call it. Fully committed to never, as you said, use it. Because I just knew in my soul, man, it was done. I had tried it all. I tried every single way to just catch a buzz. And I woke up in a jail cell. And I needed help. So, I'm humbled to that. I'm humbled to the reality that, as Ben said, there will never come a time in my life that I could safely use again, ever, anything. And thank God I lived to find that out, because not everybody does, and we all know people in this. We've all lost friends in this room. So what's my choice? I had to start praying, seek God, come here, do these steps. That's what Mike asked me to talk about, right? Why do we keep coming? Why do you keep coming here after 28 years? I gotta say it. I've been sober a long time. I try to help people stay sober. I've been fully committed to a life of service for a long time. Professionally, the last 25 years I've been a firefighter. So not only have I been sober, trying to help people get through, I was taken through the 12 steps. And for 27 years, I've been taking people through the 12 steps. Right now, currently, I'm working with 3 separate people that are early in recovery, taking them through the steps. Just to give you a little background, this isn't bragging, this is what we do, right? During COVID, I took 11 men through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's just what I do. It's I don't know. Trust me, I tried to quit 1,000 times. God's like, okay, not your show, kid. My sponsor always calls me John. I'm like, oh, I feel like Job. He's like, Job was a righteous man. You're more like Jonah. And a whale comes by and spits me out. That's how it goes, But, and for 25 years, I've been narcanning people, cutting guys out of cars, pulling people off the pavement. I've been seeing it, I stopped going to meetings on the west side of Buffalo a long time ago because I worked the west side for 20 years And I got tired of seeing people relapse that I was meeting at meetings. It got real hard. Got real hard on me emotionally. And I just found this out too. I just found this out about, I don't know, half hour ago or so, that about 6 years ago, one of my son's friends came to my home group on Thursday night men's. Kid reminded me a lot of myself. And I didn't know he was my son's friend, and we got talking, we sat down at the tables, and if you know me, and probably, I got a habit to take people hostage after the meeting, and we talk about recovery. And, I grabbed this kid because he's young, and I could identify, I got sober at 22. And 20, and he was young, and I was talking to him, and it turns out he knows my son, and I told him, you don't have to call me mister, you know what I mean? And I told my son about it, and I tried helping him. I really, really did. And I spent a lot of time talking to this kid, and he didn't make it. And I went to his wake with my son. My son was heartbroken, and it was his friend. And I just texted my son, who lives out in California now. He's 27 years old, and I said, "Hey, what was your buddy Colton's last name?" And he said, "Laster." And you wonder how God works in your life, and I'm like, man, ain't that something? So I told my son just now, texting, I'll show him Mike, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk about this because I didn't come up here to cry, and I don't cry easy. And my son loved your son. His name was Adam, my boy's name, and he just said that, Pops, that ain't on you, and that's not on his mother. That's on those demons.
Yeah.
And
I love when people do it.
yeah, so ain't that something, huh? So why do we do this, right? Because there's never going to come a time in my life that I can safely use again. And by the grace of God, my son has never seen me drunk. He's never seen me high. I have 3 children, and I can identify with a lot that's been said tonight. My oldest son, I got custody of him, and I didn't talk to his mother for 10 years. And I haven't seen her in 2, and that's okay. And you want to know the funny thing is she's got more sobriety than me, but that's okay. And that's our lives, right? I mean no harm on her. She's perfectly okay with who she is. But this isn't a game for me. And God has put me in a position where things like this happen, man. And I need help with this. And I'm not so much humble, right? We were talking about this before. I'm not the most humble guy like in other areas in my life. I did run into burning buildings for 25 years with nothing more than an axe. So I get a little, I got some confidence in a lot of areas of my life. But when it comes to God, I'm humble. I'm humble before the grace of God, and I ask for help. And when it comes to the alcohol and the drugs, I'm humble. I got no problem saying I'm in trouble. My boy Richie back there, I had 3 surgeries in 18 months because doing what I did professionally, it took its toll on me. And I've had a knee surgery in 2019, an ankle surgery in 2020, and I had a shoulder surgery in February. And as you guys know, they fill your body with these drugs, and they send you home with the, that ain't a game. And I'm like, bro, I can't go down like that. And he said, well, let's go some NA. I do this Monday night thing. We'll do that. So he's taking me around NA meetings, got me back down in the hood where I used to go to meetings back in the 90s. And, because I can never go back. I can never go back, ever. And it's okay that I could reach, and thank God for friends like Richie to reach out to and say, hey, let's do this together. And I said my prayers, and I came out of those surgeries, and I didn't go, ooh, I want some, because you don't know. I don't know what's going to kick it off. And I was able to just, as soon as I could sleep, I stopped taking the pills. Actually, one time they sent me home with oxys, and my wife is like, she freaked out. I'm like coming to, if you've had a surgery, you know what I mean? You're all whacked out, I'm coming out of it. And my wife's like, you get one. I'm like, what are you talking about? She says, you get one. And because normally I'll get these half and halves. I'll get like a hydrocodone and Tylenol thing or whatever. And she put them in, as I was telling these guys, she took and put it in vinegar, threw it in coffee grounds and put it right out in the garbage. You know, I didn't even see them. So, as has been said here tonight, our family members, you know, we hurt as alcoholics and that. We can't see it because it's the illness. It does not allow us to see it. But if we allow people into our lives and we can humble ourselves and make that personal commitment that, okay, I need some help, man. I can't live this way. And listen to that inner voice and be led down the path, we can get well. And it doesn't take long to get to the place that you can see we can be separated from our sickness and understand that, like, no, I don't want to kill me. I don't want to die, but that illness wants me dead. And you could see, you know what I mean? Start to separate ourselves from what the sickness does. Because we're all the same. If any one of us goes out using, what are we going to? We're going to start lying, cheating, stealing, doing whatever we got to do to get it, making promises we can't keep, hating on ourselves. It's all the same. We could all get on a plane, go to China, get an interpreter, and the Chinese dude that's in that has got the same problem. It's universal. It's an illness. It's all happening over there too, and wherever we go. And the solution is the same too. But that comes from inside. And it can't do it alone. And I don't want to, and I don't have to. I'm the guy that talks about never using again. Ever. Non-negotiable. I have to have permanent sobriety. And I need to know that it works. I absolutely have to know that if I'm going to make this commitment and I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to bare my soul, that there's going to be a return. I'm that guy. I'm doing all this to, like, maybe I'll stay sober tomorrow. Maybe I'll get through the weekend. Come on, man. We're not children here. I need to know that this works. And if this ain't working, I'm going to where it does. Is that fair enough? I need to know that the pain's going to end. I got to do my part. I got to be willing to go to any length. I got to be willing, after 26 years of recovery, to turn to my friend and say, bro, I ain't going down like that. Dudes at our home group can't go to the dentist without relapsing. They can't go to the dentist without relapsing. I don't think I'm better than any one of those people. But I'm not going down like that. So what do? Start coming to Sparks on Monday nights. Do whatever, man. I'm going to pray. If it starts calling me, I'm going to tell him myself. If you got to tie me up and tie me down after surgery because I'm jonesing for it, then do it. Do it. I can't go back. And that's the personal commitment that I have. That's why I talk the way that I do. And I like to be around people that have that commitment. I'm not in competition with anybody. I don't need any single person in this room to suffer for one moment for me to know that I can never use again. I don't. I'm not in competition with anybody. And what's your pain going to do for me? I did all kinds of things that I hated myself for, and it didn't keep me from doing it. My own pain couldn't keep me sober. What's your pain going to do for me? You know? I'm not in competition with anybody. I think the world's a better place when people like us are sober. I think I'll tell you this one, everybody's safer around me. Every single person is safer around me. When I'm sober and I'm well and I'm doing it. And when I'm been sober a long time, and if I get off track, I get off and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I could be dangerous. Far, far sneakier than I ever was. Because drunk, you could smell me coming. How you'd be like, oh yeah, watch out for him. Hey ladies, there he is. You smell? You gotta stay away from him. But sober and sick, watch out. So I need people in my life to hold me to a standard. I can't hang around with the anything goes crowd. I can't. That'll get me in trouble too. Crazy sober, I call that. And I don't want to be crazy sober. You know, I like being well. I like my family not saying move to Cleveland. I like helping people, but it hurts. It hurts when you can't help people. And you try and you try. You know? my niece passed away too. My 31-year-old niece, she's an addict. She got arrested. You know the old boost, right? Hang out at Walmart, look for a cash receipt, go in, grab the stuff, bring. You know the deal, right? Go up to the counter, get the cash. She was pulling that scam, got caught, got locked up. My sister-in-law got her out, and she came home and overdosed upstairs. My sister-in-law blamed herself. She blamed herself for a long time, and stopped coming around. And it's hard. It's hard to see, you know. And it's nobody's fault. It isn't. It happens, you know. But when the help is there, we need to take it. We need to get to help. Can't be so arrogant and so proud to not humble ourselves to the place that to ask for help. Especially in a room full of people who all understand. We've all done the same things, man. We've been to those places. And we could do this together. I truly, you know, the people that I hang out with, we talk about never drinking again for the rest of our lives. Ever. Non-negotiable. We make pacts with each other, and that's okay. Some people are afraid of that. They're like, "Whoa, dude, slow down." I'm like, slow down for what? So you could get arrested again? For what? You could find a new way to scam? You know, find another angle? You got a couple cards left in that deck to play, bro? I'm out. I'm okay with it. But that means I need to pray. That means I need to find some people to be around that won't judge me, that won't be critical of me, that understand that I'm trying to be the best version of myself. I mean, they ain't going to give me a free pass on stuff, but they're not going to chastise me when I call up and tell them what's going on in my life. If I'm thinking about using it, that's the first thing, man. And I always start there. If you're trying to get well and you're trying to get sober and you can't make a phone call and say, "Man, I'm thinking about using," you got no hope. That's the truth. That's a hard truth. You got zero chance of making it. Going all the way back to if we could do this on our own, we would have. We would have figured it out a long time ago. Just ain't going to do that anymore. Move on in a new direction. Right? We're not dummies. But just think about the simplicity of that. If I can't call up somebody and say, "Hey, man, I'm thinking about using, I need some help," what chance do I got? And never one time in my life has I made that phone call and the guy's like, "Yeah, well, let's go get a bag together. Let's get," no. You're like, "Bro, you okay? Where are you at? I'll come meet you," right? I'll come meet you right now. Where are you at? Did you pray? That's what I get. What's going on? Oh, I got in some trouble at work. I got this, that. Now I got to get more honest, right? If it's driven by something like that. Damn credit card bill came. Whew, man, 24%, that's a lot. I'm thinking about you, right? Whatever it is, it's life. What did you say? We lack coping skills, right? And what do people who lack coping skills do? They get stressed out, they get freaked out, and they think about using. Let me shut it off. Right? So I need friends who understand that I can live this life with and we can make phone calls to. And just get through it. And the longer you do this, the longer you live it, the better it gets. So we get the skills. God protects us. Leads us down a different path. We have that psychic change. We don't think that way anymore. These are all gifts. They're all real, and it has to work because I'm never going back. It has to work. You know? I want to be able to text my son, even though he's in California, and have him immediately text me back. "Hey, Pops," you know? I don't want to look at my phone and go, you know, because I'm ashamed of myself. I'm not going to make it. I know myself. I won't make it that way. So I need this. And it's an incredible, incredible honor and privilege to be here tonight. There's my man right there. Is that the truth, bro? And Colton's with us every day. And I really did try to help your son. I want you to know that. He's a good kid. And I did everything I could for him. I was not expecting it, and I was not expecting this tonight. And I don't know you. I went to the funeral. It was a huge funeral in Stan Mountain
What a blessing that was.
Yeah, and
For me, that was enormous blessing.
ain't that something, huh? So there's my God shot for today, huh, bro? So yeah, well that's how this is how God works in my life. This is this continuation of spiritual experiences, and I can feel God in my heart, my soul right now, and I hope we can all feel God in this room and the safety in this room, and it's real, and that's why I keep coming back, bro. That's why I keep coming here, because of this feeling right now. This wasn't out there, man. When I was out there, that that's the other feeling, that lower power, and I like this a lot better. And by doing the steps, and by developing close relationships, and getting honest with people around here, and not being afraid to talk about these things. And it is not easy for me to cry, man. This is something. And we get well, and this feeling can carry with us. It doesn't have to be fleeting. It takes some time. It takes a commitment. But the feeling can stay with us. And that's how I started, right there, my man. Yeah. I had to learn to crawl first. Yeah, ooh. And so that's it. So I don't know if what I said tonight was congruent, because I don't know, I got messed up. I got a little messed up. So I hope I did well here. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be here. And my sobriety date is sacred to me. And thank you for another second chance on life. Come stay sober with us. Thank you.
That's good shit right there, ain't it? Good stuff. If you listen to all three and paid attention, there's one common theme. When I put down drugs, that was easy for me. When I had to change this, it's a lifelong commitment. So, yeah, he's mad as hell about something. But it's about the mind change, man. Not being in that. Them demons. Those demons. And they get you. So when I came into recovery, it was about changing my way of thinking, and it's a lifelong commitment. Because I can be more dangerous clean too.
Oh yeah.
It's a bad thing. So any questions for the speakers or anything? There's cookies, there's coffee, cigarettes. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Man, sure. I got a question. I got a mistake.
He's got a question. There's a question. Question.
First and foremost, I want to thank y'all for having me here. It's good that these things remember. I was here 2 years ago.
I remember you. Yep.
Someone's asking a question, everybody. Danny, you're asking a question.
I just want to say that ain't no question. There is no question. I just stay worked out. That was God.
Yeah.
Higher powers of the world put this together to show evidence that this thing works. And I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Different every time, ain't it? You were
I was like, yeah.
See if this video works.
So he's